Chosen one. Stop scrolling. Heaven has orchestrated this moment. This is not an algorithm, it's alignment. Everything around you pauses because a message has been dispatched from eternity straight into your spirit. You are not here by chance. You have been carried through the fire, through nights that almost consumed you, through silence that screamed louder than words. You did not break. You are still here and heaven has seen everything. This year tried to bury you under weight you never asked to carry. You held your breath through storms, smiled while you bled, prayed while your heart cracked open. There were days when the only strength you had left was the fact that you hadn't given up yet. You walked through invisible battles that no one else understood. People assumed you were fine, but heaven knew the cost of your endurance. You didn't crumble, you became gold refined in fire. The throne of heaven recorded your tears. Each one of them was noticed. Not one went unseen. You thought you were surviving, but you were actually being prepared. What felt like abandonment was actually the sound of God's silence working in your favor. You were hidden, not forgotten. You were trained, not discarded. Heaven saw every moment you kept your faith when nothing made sense. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That verse is not a poetic line, it is a revelation. It means that even when you were sitting in your room wondering why the pain wouldn't end, heaven was closer than your own breath. The presence of God wrapped around your shattered soul even when you couldn't feel it. Every sigh you released became a prayer in heaven's language. You never suffered in silence, you suffered in sacredness. Chosen one, this Christmas carries a different sound for you. It's not about lights or gifts, it's about recognition. Heaven is calling your name in this season. The same eyes that watched you cry are now watching over your restoration. The same God who allowed the crushing is now commanding the rising. You are not entering this season empty. You are entering it crowned with unseen strength. There is something divine about those who refuse to quit. Heaven writes their names in the archives of endurance. You may not have won every battle, but you never surrendered your faith. And that matters more than you realize. Every moment you whispered, "God, I still trust you," thundered through eternity. Angels took note. Darkness trembled. Now heaven speaks, you have been seen. Your faith has been recorded. The time of recognition has come. This is why the weariness you've been feeling lately isn't defeat, it's the sign of transition. The old season is breaking off. The warfare is lifting. What you thought was the end was actually the threshold of your unveiling. Chosen one, let this truth settle deep. Your tears were not weakness, they were proof of your capacity to feel heaven's heartbeat. Your exhaustion was not failure, it was evidence of the battles you fought while still holding on to light. Your story is not over, it's about to make sense. So in this sacred moment, pause. Let the noise of the world fade. Hear the whisper that says, "You were never unseen." Heaven saw the weight you carried. Heaven watched you love people who betrayed you. Heaven saw you forgive those who didn't deserve it. Heaven saw you praying for peace while your heart was breaking. And now, heaven responds. This Christmas is your turning point. Divine restoration is breathing over your name. You may not see it all at once, but the shift has begun. Everything you lost, every sleepless night, every lonely tear, it's all being redeemed. God is about to make the very pain that crushed you become the platform that crowns you. You survived what others didn't. You held on when others walked away. You are not forgotten, you are favored. The unseen season was your preparation for a visible elevation. And now, you step into the light not as a victim of pain, but as a vessel of purpose. Take a deep breath. This is the sound of heaven saying, "Well done, you made it." And now, heaven sends this message to your soul. Rise again. I saw your pain. I am not done with you. If this word resonates within you, don't let it fade into the noise of the world. Like, share, and subscribe so that this divine message reaches others who need to remember that they too are seen. As a prophetic declaration of faith, comment the number 777 below and write these words, "My pain was seen." Let heaven see your response and seal it as a testimony. And as you type it, feel the atmosphere shift around you. Heaven leans closer when faith is spoken aloud. Every number, every word you declare becomes a signal in the spirit, proof that you refuse to hide your light any longer. You are seen. You are chosen. You are rising. You have been through fire that others never saw. Chosen one. While the world smiled, you were holding yourself together in pieces that didn't fit anymore. But even in your quietest breaking, you never truly broke. You endured. You bent. But you did not shatter. There is something unexplainably divine about those who refuse to quit even when life keeps taking. The unseen battles you fought became a fragrance that rose to heaven like incense, sweet, costly, and pure. There were days when your body moved, but your soul felt heavy. You smiled to avoid questions and you said, "I'm fine," while your spirit trembled inside. You woke up to another morning, another battle, another reason to stay silent. But heaven was never silent about you. The angels stood witness to every hidden tear, to every moment you whispered prayers into the dark. While the world called it struggle, heaven called it strength. You became a testimony of endurance written in invisible ink across the sky. You didn't realize it then, but every time you chose to love again, to forgive again, to rise again, you were writing history in heaven's archives. The ones who never broke are heaven's favorites, not because they are perfect, but because they refuse to surrender their light. You carried a quiet fire inside you that terrified darkness, and though you walked through nights when your own reflection felt foreign, your faith still whispered, "God, I trust you." That whisper moved mountains you didn't even see. Your scars became sacred. Every one of them tells the story of a soul that kept believing. You learned that pain doesn't always mean punishment. It often means preparation. When everything collapsed around you, what you carried inside remained unshaken. That is why you were chosen, not for your perfection, but for your endurance. There is a mystery in heaven's way of choosing warriors. It's rarely the loud, the seen, the confident. It's the ones who stayed faithful in the unseen places. The ones who carried crosses with no witnesses. The ones who said amen with trembling hands and tired eyes. Those are the ones heaven crowns quietly. You are one of them. You may not wear the armor the world recognizes, but you wear something greater, invisible resilience. Heaven calls it the endurance of the unbroken. You have lived through storms that would have destroyed others. You have lost what others depended on. And still, your soul refuses to bow to despair. That is what it means to be chosen. And now, heaven whispers a secret: endurance is not just surviving, it's sacred resistance. Every time you said, "I still believe," you declared war on the enemy's agenda. Every tear you refused to let drown you became a weapon. Every silent night became a victory. You thought you were merely holding on, but you were actually pushing darkness back. There is something holy about the way you kept going. You turned pain into prayer, loss into faith, exhaustion into worship. You turned your breaking point into your altar. Heaven watched and smiled. For that is what divine strength looks like, not absence of pain, but persistence through it. Scripture says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That verse breathes through your story. You were misunderstood, criticized, left behind. But you never lost your heart. You didn't harden into bitterness. You softened into grace. You didn't close off your spirit, you kept it open to light. That's what the ones who never break do. They allow pain to polish them instead of poison them. There were moments you asked, "Why me?" Heaven's answer was, "Because you can carry what others cannot." Not because you are stronger by nature, but because you were anointed to endure. The oil that rests on your life is born of pressure. And just as olive oil only flows when the olive is crushed, so too has your anointing been released through your crushing. You are not a victim of pain. You are a vessel of purpose. And now there's a shift happening. The strength that was once survival is becoming authority. You are stepping into a season where your endurance becomes influence. People will look at you and see evidence that God still restores. You will become a living reminder that breaking does not mean the end, it means transformation. So walk with your head high. You have nothing to prove. You already proved it when you didn't quit. The world might never know the weight you carried, but heaven already recorded it. You are one of the ones who never broke. Heaven calls you faithful. And though the world may never understand the price you paid to stand here, heaven does. The unseen victories, the silent prayers, the lonely nights, all of it has been witnessed. You are not forgotten, not overlooked, not invisible. You are written into heaven's remembrance as one who endured until dawn came. There were nights when silence itself felt like your greatest enemy. You waited for an answer that never came, for a sign that never appeared, and yet you kept standing. The battlefield wasn't out there, it was inside your own mind. The quiet, the uncertainty, the invisible pressure, it all tested you deeper than words could reach. And still, you did not fall. You fought wars no one could see, and heaven recorded every silent victory. When everything grew still, you thought God had forgotten you. But silence does not mean absence, it means strategy. Heaven does some of its loudest work in the quiet. You weren't being ignored, you were being refined. When the noise stopped, that's when your spirit began to hear the whisper, "You are still mine." The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. "The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still." That is the mystery you lived through. You wanted to move, to fix, to explain, but God said, "Be still." And in your stillness, He fought battles you never even knew were raging. The silence that felt like punishment was actually protection. You were being hidden while heaven rearranged your path. In that stillness, the enemy tried to whisper lies. You are forgotten. You are alone. Nothing will change. But every time you refused to believe it, light pushed back the darkness. You didn't realize it then, but you were building spiritual muscle. You were training in patience, learning to trust in the unseen. Heaven wasn't testing your strength. Heaven was revealing it. Sometimes God doesn't answer right away because He's letting your faith grow roots deep enough to outlast any storm. You may have felt like everything was falling apart, but it was actually being rebuilt on firmer ground. The silence was not God's rejection. It was His redirection. You survived seasons where you had no clarity and only faith. That is not small, it's sacred. Because in that silence, your worship became pure. You learned to praise not for outcomes, but for presence. You learned to trust not because you could see, but because you believed. That kind of trust shakes the foundations of darkness. There's something powerful about the quiet moments when all you can say is, "God, I don't understand, but I still trust you." Those words carry more weight in heaven than 1,000 loud prayers. You were not forgotten. You were being fortified. Chosen one. What you thought was a delay was actually a divine pause. Heaven wasn't saying no, it was saying not yet. The silence was the space between your breaking and your becoming, and in that space, heaven was molding your spirit to carry what's coming next. Think about it, even Jesus experienced silence in the garden. The heavens seemed still, the pain seemed endless, but purpose was unfolding. The silence before resurrection is always the loudest. And you too are standing on the edge of something being resurrected within you. Your stillness has power. You didn't quit. You didn't run. You waited, even when waiting hurt. And now, heaven moves because you stood still long enough for the wind of purpose to catch you. You may not hear trumpets, but something in the spirit is shifting. The waiting is ending. The silence is breaking. Remember this when you hear nothing. God is speaking the most. His silence is often the sound of him working behind the scenes. What he's building for you requires stillness to settle into place. And soon, you'll see why you had to wait, why you had to walk through quiet places alone. Now, as you read these words, take a moment. Breathe. Let the silence no longer scare you. Let it remind you that heaven is near. The storm doesn't last forever. And when the stillness breaks, it will reveal something beautiful, the version of you that never stopped believing. If this message speaks to your heart, type "I'm listening" below. It's more than a comment, it's a declaration that you are ready to hear again, ready to receive, ready to trust the silence. Because the next sound you hear will be heaven answering. When you write "I'm listening," you are opening the door of your spirit again. You are telling heaven, I am ready for instruction, ready for renewal. Those two words are not passive, they are prophetic. They announce that silence will no longer define you, but refine you. When you type "I'm listening," heaven takes notice. Angels record that declaration as surrender and readiness. It is a spiritual alignment, a moment where your will and God's voice meet. You are no longer fighting the silence, you are embracing it as sacred space where divine guidance begins to flow again. When you declare "I'm listening," you are no longer demanding answers, you are positioning yourself to receive wisdom. It is your spirit saying, "Speak, Lord, I'm tuned in." From that moment, divine whispers start to rise inside you, and what once felt empty becomes filled with revelation and peace. There are moments in life when tears speak louder than prayers. You didn't have words left to say, only your heart could speak through the salt of your pain. And yet, those tears were never wasted. They traveled farther than you think. Heaven counted every single one of them, not one was lost, not one ignored. What you thought was falling away was actually being gathered. Every drop carried meaning, carrying messages your mouth couldn't form, but your soul screamed for heaven to hear. It is a sacred mystery that the Almighty takes notice of the smallest details of human sorrow. Every sigh, every ache, every silent plea, it all matters. There were nights when the weight of everything made it hard to breathe. You hid your face, not wanting anyone to see, but the one who created you never looked away. Your tears were prayers without words, and he understood everyone. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 56 and verse 8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. That ancient truth lives inside your story. You may have cried alone, but you were never unseen. Each tear became a covenant, a divine record of pain that heaven promised to redeem. God never overlooks what costs you deeply. He does not forget what breaks you. He transforms it. The pain you carried was not meaningless. It was measured, counted, and allowed only to the degree that it could refine you, not destroy you. You have cried enough for 1,000 lifetimes, and still, here you are alive. There is something supernatural about a soul that continues to believe even after being broken. You are proof that faith can survive fire. You learn that tears are not weakness, they are language. They speak the dialect of heaven, the cry of the pure in heart, the sound that reaches the throne faster than any polished prayer. When you cried, heaven moved. When you wept in silence, angels were dispatched. You thought you were falling apart, but you were being rebuilt in tears. Each tear carried something away: bitterness, fear, old pain, the residue of people who mishandled you. You didn't know it, but your tears were cleansing the path for your next season. The tears that once blurred your vision are the same ones that now make your sight clearer. You can see differently because you cried. Your tears watered the ground beneath your feet, and what felt like despair will soon bloom into purpose. Nothing is wasted when God holds the bottle. You may not see it yet, but those moments of heartbreak were investments into your spiritual harvest. There is a day coming when you will look back and realize the tears were seeds. Some cried over betrayal, others over loss, over rejection, over the weight of dreams that refused to manifest. Heaven saw it all. The one who numbers your hairs does not overlook your tears. They are sacred ink on the pages of your destiny. When you cried, you were not weak, you were worshiping in the most honest way. Sometimes heaven hides behind silence so that your tears can do the talking. There's a kind of breakthrough that only tears can birth. You didn't need to say everything, your tears said enough. And because of them, heaven now holds evidence that you trusted even when it hurt. One day, those tears will testify on your behalf. They will speak of the nights you stayed, the prayers you whispered, the strength you borrowed. They will become jewels of remembrance in your crown. For the ones who never broke are not rewarded with ease, they are rewarded with revelation. And the revelation is this: pain never had the last word. Purpose did. So do not despise your tears anymore. They are holy. They are proof that you still feel, still love, still believe. A heart that can cry is a heart that can heal. Every tear was a bridge leading you closer to peace. You were never crying into emptiness, you were crying into eternity's hands. And soon, heaven will answer with joy. For those who sowed in tears shall indeed reap in songs of gladness. Your crying season is not your final chapter, it is the ink God used to write your redemption story. And when that chapter turns, you will realize that every tear you shed built the foundation for your blessing. When joy returns, you'll understand why the tears had to fall. They were not a sign of weakness, but of divine exchange sorrow, leaving so that strength could enter. Heaven never wastes what you release. Every tear was a seed, and now the harvest of peace begins to sprout in silence. The same eyes that watched you cry will watch you laugh again. The same hands that caught your tears are now writing restoration across your story. Nothing was lost, only transformed. And in that transformation, your spirit learns this eternal truth: every tear has a purpose, and every purpose ends in light. There is a strength within you that was never taught, it was revealed through pressure. The kind that can only come when life keeps taking. Yet you keep giving. You didn't learn endurance from comfort, you learned it from the breaking. That hidden strength inside you is the quiet miracle no one saw coming. The world might have overlooked you, but heaven did not. You became stronger in silence, wiser through pain, softer through storms. That is how divine strength grows, not in applause, but in obscurity. You may not have realized it, but every moment you chose compassion over bitterness, every time you forgave when it was easier to fight, you were lifting spiritual weights. You were growing into the version of yourself heaven always intended. There's a hidden beauty in those who keep their hearts tender after battle. They are the ones who carry heaven's fragrance wherever they go. You are one of them. You learned how to stay kind in a world that hardened others. You learned to carry light, not resentment. You learned to bend without breaking. You learned, according to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 10. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. You did not faint, you stood. You may have trembled, but you didn't collapse. That's what sets you apart. Heaven looked at your endurance and said, "That one can be trusted with glory." And because you stayed faithful, your life now carries something different, an energy, a light, a quiet authority that can lift others. The same strength that sustained you is now meant to strengthen those who have grown weary. You have become a living bridge between despair and hope. When you speak, others will feel it. When you smile, others will sense healing. Your presence alone carries a kind of peace that can't be taught. That is the hidden strength, heaven's power moving through a humble heart. Now, I want to say this gently when messages like this reach you. They are not random videos or passing words, they are lamps being lit in the darkness. And if these lamps have brought light into your life, consider helping keep them burning. Not out of duty, not out of guilt, but out of love. Imagine a candle glowing in a dark room. Its flame gives warmth, comfort, and vision. But that candle burns because someone, somewhere, refilled the oil. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're adding oil to that flame. You're keeping the light alive for the next traveler who stumbles in the dark, searching for a sign that hope still exists. And if your heart ever feels moved to give, to donate as an act of worship, to sow into this stream of light, then let it come from joy, not pressure. Picture your gift as a drop of oil poured into a lamp. One drop may seem small, but together they make a glow that no night can smother. Every click, every share, every quiet offering becomes a seed of light. You are not paying for words, you are partnering with heaven to spread warmth, faith, and comfort across souls who feel forgotten. And if all you can give today is your attention, your prayer, your presence, know this, that is already enough. Heaven measures not the size of the gift, but the sincerity of the heart. Together we are keepers of light. Together we refill the oil. Together we make sure no soul walks alone in the dark. So thank you for staying, for believing, for carrying this light forward. And when your heart whispers, "I want to help keep the flame alive," listen to that whisper. It is heaven inviting you to participate in something eternal. Like share, subscribe, or donate, not because you have to, but because your heart remembers how it feels to be found by light. You are proof that endurance births miracles. And now, through your generosity, whatever form it takes, those miracles will continue to multiply. Your giving, no matter how small, becomes a spark in someone else's night. You may never meet the soul your act of kindness reaches, but heaven will show you one day the ripple of light that began the moment you chose to share what once helped you heal. Every time you give, you echo the heart of God Himself, the one who gives without hesitation, who pours without measure. Your generosity mirrors His nature. That's why it multiplies. It returns as peace, as favor, as quiet joy that fills the spaces where sorrow once lived. There are hearts waiting for hope, voices waiting for light, and through your action, they will find it. One word, one share, One seed of love, it's enough to change a destiny. You are not just hearing this message, you are becoming part of it. So, let this moment be your reminder. Light is never meant to stay still. Pass it forward. Keep it burning. The same heaven that strengthened you will strengthen others through you. Every act of kindness you release becomes proof that God still speaks through the willing. This Christmas carries a strange stillness, doesn't it? It feels different, quieter, deeper. Not the noise of gifts or gatherings, but something sacred beneath the surface. Heaven is whispering your name, and it's not a small thing. The same voice that spoke galaxies into existence is now speaking peace over your soul. You've come through a year that tested your endurance, stretched your heart, and stripped away what could no longer stay. And now, in this holy pause, heaven leans closer. The world rushes to celebrate with lights and music, but heaven celebrates differently. It celebrates by recognizing the ones who never stopped believing. The unseen strength you carried has not gone unnoticed. The nights you cried yourself to sleep, the mornings you rose with trembling faith, all of it has reached heaven's throne. This Christmas is not about what's under the tree, it's about what's blooming in your spirit. Heaven has remembered you. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. This is not a verse for comfort alone, it is a reminder of orchestration. While you thought you were forgotten, heaven was scheduling divine intersections. The plan was never canceled. It was delayed until you were strong enough to carry it. You had to walk through fire so that your blessing would not consume you when it came. Now, in this season, heaven begins to whisper your name again. Angels move quietly in your favor. There is a shifting of atmosphere. Doors are unlocking, hearts are softening, and paths that were once blocked are being cleared. You may not see it yet, but your name has been mentioned in rooms you haven't entered. This Christmas, you are not just celebrating the birth of a Savior, you are celebrating the rebirth of hope. The same light that entered the world in a stable is entering your life again. You are being wrapped in divine favor, clothed in unseen glory. The heavens have chosen this moment to remind you you are not forgotten, you are favored. Look closely around you. The signs are subtle but undeniable. The peace that suddenly settles over your thoughts. The unexpected kindness from a stranger. The inner knowing that something good is coming. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Heaven is aligning you for the promise. What felt delayed is not denied. You are stepping into a divine appointment written long before you were born. The timing is perfect because your preparation is complete. Heaven whispers, now. And when heaven says now, everything changes quietly but permanently. Burdens lift without explanation. The heaviness that clung to you all year begins to fall away. The lightness you feel isn't imagination, it's the presence of God resting upon you. This is your Christmas alignment, the merging of promise and purpose. What you lost is making its way back, but transformed. What broke you is becoming your bridge. What you surrendered is being returned, purified by fire. You don't need to chase this blessing, it's already chasing you. The divine orchestration is set. You're being positioned, not by effort, but by favor. Heaven's hand is arranging every detail with precision. So, as you move through this season, carry this awareness: the heavens have whispered your name, and everything around you is responding to it. Expect gentleness where there was hardness. Expect open doors where there were walls. Expect beauty where there was ashes. And when the moment comes, and it will, you will realize this God didn't just remember you, He prepared everything around you to receive you. Your name has been spoken in heaven, and now it echoes on earth. If this message speaks to your heart, comment the number 333 below. This number carries the symbol of divine completeness and heavenly conversation, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in perfect unity. When you type 333, you declare, I am in divine alignment. I am walking in oneness with heaven's plan. It is your agreement with the whisper, your yes to divine timing. Type it as a quiet act of faith. You are saying, Heaven, I hear you. And in that simple act, the alignment begins. When you write 333, you're echoing heaven's rhythm of unity, the trinity of creation, redemption, and restoration. It represents perfect communication between you and God, a symbol that the veil between your prayers and His answers is lifting. It means heaven hears and earth is beginning to respond. Typing 333 is not superstition, it's synchronization. It's your spirit stepping into divine agreement with heaven's timing. It says, I trust the process, even when I cannot see. This act declares that you are aligned with divine order, where every delay turns into direction and every waiting becomes wonder. When you declare 333, you open yourself to the fullness of God's conversation. It's a sacred yes, an unspoken covenant that says, I am ready to receive. Heaven recognizes those who answer the call of alignment, and the moment you respond, peace begins to manifest around you like morning light. There are seasons in life when everything seems to collapse all at once. The ground shakes beneath your faith, and what once felt certain suddenly feels fragile. But even in those moments, something unseen is moving. The tables are turning. Though your eyes might not yet recognize the motion, what was meant to bury you is about to announce your rising. The storms you faced were never sent to destroy you, they were sent to reveal you. Every gust of wind that tried to tear your foundation apart only proved what was truly rooted in you. You thought you were losing everything, but heaven was simply rearranging the scenery for your breakthrough. It's strange how divine reversals often begin in chaos. Nothing looks like a miracle while it's forming. Everything feels uncertain, unstable, unfinished. You cry out for peace, and heaven whispers, wait, I'm working. The waiting feels unbearable, but it's the space where destiny quietly unfolds. We are reminded through the writings of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. That is not just a promise, it is a decree. It means that even when it looks like you are surrounded, you are not defeated. The weapons may form, but they cannot finish. The attack may rise, but it will not remain. Heaven always has the final word. You have endured accusations, betrayals, and delays that made you question your worth. But the same mouths that once spoke against you will one day testify of your transformation. The same places that saw your fall will soon witness your rise. For when heaven turns a table, no one can turn it back. There is something holy about divine reversals. They rarely happen loudly. Often, they begin in whispers and subtle shifts, in unexpected peace, in small doors opening that lead to greater ones. You begin to realize that what once hurt you now helps you. The stone that tripped you becomes the cornerstone of your next season. The turning of the tables isn't always about vindication, it's about alignment. Heaven is not merely giving you back what you lost, it is restoring it in greater measure. The same circumstances that once humbled you will now honor you. You are stepping into the space where humiliation becomes elevation. And when it happens, it will be quiet. No trumpet will sound, no announcement will echo, but peace will fill the room, and you'll know this is it. The turning has begun. The very doors that once closed on you will open, not because you forced them, but because heaven touched them. Your heart will recognize this moment because it won't feel like striving, it will feel like release. The struggle will end, not in exhaustion, but in stillness. The noise will fade, and what remains will be grace. That is how divine reversals manifest without noise, without drama, without resistance. The tables are turning, and you are not the same person who sat at them before. You've grown, you've changed, you've learned discernment in silence and wisdom in pain. You now know what deserves your presence and what does not. You no longer chase validation, you walk in value. The trials that once broke you have become your teachers. The rejection that once wounded you has become your redirection. The loss that once emptied you has become your preparation. Everything that once worked against you has quietly worked for you. This is the mystery of heaven's design. It turns ashes into beauty without asking for permission. And now, you stand on the edge of divine irony, the moment when everything that once hurt you begins to serve you. You'll see it in small ways. First, a conversation that leads to an open door. A forgotten seed suddenly sprouting. An old prayer finally answered. Slowly, the tapestry of your pain begins to reveal its purpose. You'll understand why the delay was necessary. Why certain people left. Why silence lingered longer than comfort allowed. You'll realize it was never punishment. It was positioning. Heaven was never ignoring you. It was preparing your name to be called at the right time. Chosen one, when the tables turn, you won't need to announce it. The peace on your face will tell the story. The calm in your spirit will confirm the shift. You'll realize that God didn't just bring you out. He brought you higher. What once felt like endings were actually introductions. You are walking into a season where divine justice speaks louder than words. Every wrong turn, every delay, every betrayal is being rewritten into testimony. The turning has begun, and this time, it's in your favor. And when you finally sit at the new table heaven has prepared, you'll understand nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil beneath your victory. Every silence built the foundation for your peace. The turning of the tables isn't just about change, it's about becoming who you were always meant to be. There is a quiet season that comes after endurance, the time when heaven begins to move on your behalf without you needing to strive. You have reached that moment. The air around you feels different because heaven is preparing to honor what you carried privately, what you held in secret with trembling hands. God is about to display with steady glory. You may not notice it at first. It rarely begins with noise. Divine reward often comes like dawn, slowly, softly, until the whole sky shifts without warning. You wake one morning and realize the weight has lifted. The pressure that once kept you on your knees has transformed into peace. That's how heaven honors those who refuse to give up. The reward is not always wealth, applause, or recognition. Sometimes it's the restoration of peace after years of turmoil. Sometimes it's the return of joy that no one can take away. Other times it's a stillness in your spirit that says, I made it through, and I am stronger for it. Heaven measures differently. Your reward begins in the unseen. It starts with the soft correction of perspective. You look at the same life, but through clearer eyes. The bitterness fades. The wounds begin to close. You find yourself able to forgive people without the old pain flaring up. That's what divine reward looks like. It's freedom in places you used to bleed. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That proper time is not a human calendar, it's heaven's timing. It unfolds only when your heart is mature enough to handle what you prayed for. Many times, your reward was ready before you were. The waiting wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. And now, the preparation is over. The heavens are opening gently, without spectacle, without announcement. The reward of the faithful always arrives wrapped in humility. God hides blessings in ordinary moments, so only the humble will notice. You may find it in a conversation that renews your purpose, in an opportunity that fits your spirit perfectly, or in a peace so deep it feels like home. You didn't sow your faith for nothing. Every prayer whispered in exhaustion, every seed of kindness sown when you were empty. Heaven kept record. Nothing you gave was lost. It's as if the soil of time has been waiting for this exact moment to bloom with everything you've planted in tears. The reward is not only for surviving, it's for believing. The world calls it luck, but heaven calls it divine repayment. You didn't seek revenge, you chose restoration. You didn't curse your storms, you worshiped through them. And now, heaven's justice begins to work silently in your favor. The people who misunderstood your silence will soon understand your peace. The ones who doubted your strength will see what quiet faith builds. You won't need to prove anything. The fruit will speak for you. Heaven is not only giving you a new season, it's giving you a new name. You will no longer be known for what broke you, but for what built you. And while others chase attention, your life will shine from within. The light that now rests upon you is not temporary. It's the mark of endurance rewarded. You will attract not noise, but purpose, not crowds, but connection. Those meant to walk with you will find you, drawn not by fame but by truth. This is how heaven rewards the faithful with restoration that doesn't need to shout. Your peace will confuse the enemy because it can't be stolen. Your joy will be quiet but powerful, like sunrise breaking through mist. The same nights that tried to consume you will now serve as proof that light always wins. Zaish, walk into this season without apology. You have earned your stillness. You have fought well, believed deeply, and trusted long enough. Let this be your confirmation heaven's hand is upon you. What is coming next isn't random, it's repayment, and it will not arrive as chaos, but as calm. You'll know it by the peace that enters before the blessing appears. You'll know it by the absence of striving. You'll know it when everything that once felt heavy begins to move easily, almost effortlessly. That is how you'll recognize divine reward. It fits without force. You are being honored not for perfection, but for persistence. God saw your unseen obedience, your quiet faith, your steadfast heart. Now the same heaven that watched you weep will watch you rise. And when you do, it won't feel like revenge, it will feel like relief. You have completed the waiting, and heaven has completed the preparation. Now comes the fulfillment. Rest in it. Receive it. You are stepping into the reward of the faithful, and nothing, no voice, no delay, no shadow can take that away. There are moments when pain itself becomes prophecy. You didn't just suffer, you were being shaped. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every delay, it all carried a hidden message. What you went through was not random. It was revelation. The very wounds you thought would destroy you became maps leading you toward destiny. You see, pain speaks the language of purpose. It doesn't whisper comfort, it shouts truth. When everything fell apart, heaven was not silent, it was translating your suffering into strength. Every unanswered question, every sleepless night, every why you cried into the dark, all of it became sacred ink, writing the story of your becoming. The Word of God declares in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." That is the essence of your story. What the enemy designed for harm, Heaven rescripted for healing. You weren't being destroyed, you were being developed. Every pain had a purpose, every scar carried a seed. You were being prepared for the very thing you prayed for, even if you didn't recognize it. Sometimes the greatest answers are hidden inside the deepest suffering. You prayed for strength, so heaven sent struggle. You asked for faith, so heaven allowed uncertainty. You asked for peace, and heaven gave you storms to teach you calm. It's never punishment, it's prophecy unfolding in real time. Your pain became the language heaven used to speak destiny into your life. Without it, you wouldn't have grown this deep, loved this fiercely, or believed this strongly. Pain didn't break you, it baptized you in purpose. You now carry authority in the very area where you once bled. When you speak about what you've survived, people will feel something holy stirring within them. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Your story carries healing. You've walked through shadows and come out shining. That's what makes you dangerous to darkness. Your wounds now glow with light. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your future. The very moments that made you question God's presence were actually the moments He was closest. He didn't stand outside your pain. He stood inside it with you. That's why you made it. That's why your story didn't end in despair. Chosen one, your pain has become prophecy. Every broken moment was pointing you toward redemption. Every disappointment was redirection. You were being refined, not rejected. Heaven didn't abandon you. Heaven was authoring you. And now, look at you, you survived the kind of breaking that could have ended others. You're still standing, stronger, softer, wiser. That is what prophecy fulfilled looks like. It's not a throne or a title, it's peace after a war that tried to erase you. When people look at your life, they'll see evidence that God still turns ashes into beauty. You will become living proof that nothing suffered is wasted, that every wound can turn into worship. The very thing that tried to silence you will one day become your song. So don't hide your scars. They are sacred. They are the proof that heaven kept you, that pain transformed you, that purpose found you. You are not marked by what hurt you. You are marked by what healed you. And as you move forward, remember this. Your story is not about survival, it's about revival. What you've endured will now awaken others. What once crushed you will now carry you. What once wounded you will now anoint you. That's how heaven writes prophecy, through pain that finds its purpose. If this word reaches your heart, comment "It's done" below. Those two words are more than agreement, they are a declaration that the pain has completed its work. By writing them, you proclaim that what once hurt you is now holy, and your prophecy has been fulfilled in peace. When you comment "It's done," you are closing the door on yesterday's pain. Those words are not resignation, they are resurrection. You are declaring that what once wounded you has now completed its assignment. The season of suffering has served its purpose, and heaven is sealing it with finality and peace. Typing "It's done" is an act of spiritual authority. You are agreeing with heaven's verdict that the storm has passed. You no longer have to rehearse the hurt or explain the pain. The phrase becomes a divine signature, proof that healing is not pending. It is present. It is finished. When you write "It's done," you align yourself with the same power that spoke creation into being. Those words release the weight of trying to fix what God has already restored. They shift you from striving to surrender, from questioning to trusting. It's your spirit whispering, "I am free, am." Each time you declare "It's done," heaven records it as completion. It's more than an ending, it's a new beginning. The ashes of yesterday now nourish the roots of tomorrow's joy. You are no longer defined by what happened. You are defined by what healed. The prophecy has fulfilled its sacred purpose. There are years that pass quietly, and then there are years that carve something holy into your soul. This one carved deeply. You were tested not for punishment, but for revelation. Heaven never wastes pain. It turns it into instruction. The things that felt like loss were actually lessons wrapped in disguise. You may not have understood it then, but the fire that surrounded you was sacred. It burned away illusion. It refined intention. It separated what was temporary from what was eternal. You cried thinking everything was being taken, but heaven was only removing what couldn't follow you into your next chapter. And now you stand in the aftermath, not in ashes, but in awakening. You've become what gold becomes after the fire, rare, radiant, refined. The tests didn't take your value, they revealed it. The Word of God declares in the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 10, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." That's what you've become, gold born of endurance. You no longer react like you once did. You've learned how to sit in silence and still trust that heaven is working. You've learned that faith isn't loud, it's steady. It doesn't always shout victory. Sometimes it simply refuses to quit. The year you were tested became the year you were trained. You didn't just survive, you were educated by heaven itself. Every delay taught you patience. Every heartbreak taught you discernment. Every unanswered prayer taught you surrender. Each lesson has been sacred, written in invisible ink upon your spirit. And now, the same heaven that tested you is ready to reward you, quietly, subtly, without noise. The shift is happening in small ways, in how your heart feels lighter, in how your spirit no longer fears what's next, in how peace comes more easily now. That's how you know the training worked. When heaven promotes a soul, it doesn't always look like success, it looks like peace. You've graduated from striving to flowing. You've learned the rhythm of grace, the gentle way of trusting the unseen. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you believe. It's easy to think of divine testing as cruel, but testing is heaven's way of proving trust. You were never being punished. You were being entrusted. God doesn't test those he plans to discard. He tests those he intends to use. This is why your story matters. Someone will need your endurance as a map. Someone will need your words as medicine. You are the living proof that the refining fire does not destroy, it defines. Now, as you breathe and take in these words, know this: the testing season is closing. The furnace cools. The air feels lighter. Heaven is shifting you from training to testimony. You will soon walk in the very places you once prayed to survive. And as this message reaches your heart, remember that light grows stronger when it's shared. When these words stir something in you, when you feel heaven's breath in them, like, share and subscribe so that light keeps spreading. It's not an obligation, it's an echo. You're helping others hear what once healed you. And if your heart feels stirred to do more, to give, to donate, do it as an act of gratitude, not out of guilt. Think of it like planting a tree in a garden that once sheltered you. The next traveler who finds this message will rest in its shade, and your seed will have become sanctuary. Your giving, your sharing, your quiet participation, all of it is sacred oil poured back into the flame. It keeps the message alive, reaching those who still stand in the same storm you survived. You are no longer the one being tested, you are the one being trusted. Heaven can now use your story as light for others walking through fire. That is the purpose of every trial, to make you into a lamp that burns without fear, fueled by faith that has already been proven true. So walk forward with quiet confidence. The The year of testing has ended. The year of trust begins. The tests that nearly broke you have become the very proof that heaven trusts you now. You are not fragile anymore. You are fortified. Every scar has turned into instruction. Every delay became discipline. What once felt like loss now stands as the architecture of your divine strength. The fire did not consume you, it clarified you. What once overwhelmed you now obeys you. You no longer tremble before storms because you have learned that storms can be teachers. The same flames that threatened your peace have become torches lighting your new direction forward. You have graduated from the season of questions into the season of clarity. No longer wondering why. You now understand how. You see the fingerprints of God in every detail, even the painful ones. Everything you endured has positioned you for everything you prayed for. So stand tall, refined soul. Heaven's mark of approval rests upon your story. The testing is finished and your testimony begins. Walk with reverence. Speak with compassion. Give with gratitude, for you are living evidence that what was once a trial has turned into triumph. There is a moment in every journey when the unseen mantle falls. It is not announced with trumpets or celebration. It happens quietly, like dawn slipping over the horizon. The ones who never broke are suddenly covered in new strength, a holy authority that cannot be imitated. You have reached that moment. Heaven has placed the mantle of the unbroken upon your shoulders. This mantle is not woven of gold or silk. It is made of endurance, compassion, and clarity. It has been stitched together by every night you stayed when leaving would have been easier, by every time you prayed when silence answered back. You earned this not by perfection but by persistence. The prophet Elijah once cast his mantle upon Elisha, and something ancient happened in that moment, an exchange of weight, of purpose, of calling. The same mystery lives in you now. The weight you once carried in pain has become the weight of glory. The suffering that once crushed you has been transformed into spiritual authority. We are reminded through the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. That anointing is not symbolic, it is literal in the spirit. You can feel it in the quiet confidence that has replaced your fear. You can sense it in the calm that rests over you even when life still moves unpredictably. The oil is the proof that heaven trusts you now. You have been chosen to carry what others could not. When you wore pain, it weighed you down. But now you wear purpose, and it lifts you up. The same story that once broke you is the one that gives you authority to speak life into others. You no longer look like what you survived. Your presence carries peace because you have met darkness and refused to bow. The mantle of the unbroken is not light. It comes with responsibility. To carry light in dark places, to speak truth when silence feels safer. To love in a world that often hates what is pure. But you were not chosen because it was easy. You were chosen because you are willing. You are now a keeper of the flame, a guardian of the hope you once searched for. Heaven trusts you with the very thing you thought you lost: your faith, your heart, your tenderness. You did not come out of the fire hardened. You came out human. You feel deeply, but you no longer drown in your feelings. You have become both gentle and strong. This is the paradox of divine maturity, to remain soft in a hard world. That's what the mantle does. It protects your compassion from growing cold. It allows you to walk among the broken and not lose your light. You now understand what pain taught you, that empathy is a form of strength, and love is the most dangerous weapon against despair. You have become a living message. Your life speaks even when you say nothing. People will sense it when you enter a room, the stillness that follows, the quiet sense of safety that surrounds you. That is not charisma, it's anointing. Heaven's oil still glistens upon your spirit, invisible but unmistakable. The mantle also brings vision. You begin to see differently, to recognize divine timing, to sense when something is sacred, to discern when to speak and when to stay silent. You've learned that not every battle requires your sword. Some require your stillness. This is wisdom born of wilderness, You will notice that peace now follows you where chaos once reigned. Doors that refuse to open now swing wide, not because you pushed harder, but because you learned to wait better. The mantle teaches timing. It whispers. Not everything is meant to be forced. Some things are meant to be carried in faith until they unfold naturally. And as you walk into this next season, the weight of this mantle will remind you of two truths. First, that you were never unqualified, only unprepared. And second, that everything you lost was part of the making. The breaking was necessary for the blessing to fit. The unbroken are not those who never fell. They are those who fell and still chose love. They are the ones who could have closed their hearts forever but didn't. They are the healers who once needed healing, the comforters who once cried alone, the builders who learned to rebuild from dust. You are among them now. You have joined the lineage of the resilient, the silent heroes of faith who carry heaven's fire quietly through ordinary days. You are part of that sacred company who stand not on stages but in truth. Your voice will begin to carry a different tone. It will not shout. It will soothe. It will not command. It will comfort. That's what happens when heaven anoints endurance. You become a bridge for others. You become the proof that pain can end in peace, and peace can end in purpose. And though you may not feel ready, you are. The mantle does not rest on those who think they deserve it. It rests on those who have been emptied enough to hold it. You are ready because you have nothing left to prove, only light left to give. There are moments when heaven's timing interrupts everything, when what you waited for suddenly starts to breathe. The air changes, the heaviness lifts, and something within you whispers, "It's time." You can feel it even if you can't explain it. That's what divine alignment feels like. And this Christmas, heaven's calendar has reached your name. What once delayed now accelerates. What was stuck begins to move. It isn't by force or effort, it's by divine synchronization. Everything is starting to line up, not because you pushed harder, but because you finally surrendered. Heaven moves fastest when your soul is still. The prophet Habakkuk once wrote, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, it will surely come." That appointed time has arrived. You've endured the waiting, passed the tests, carried faith like a hidden flame through dark seasons. Now the winds of divine timing are breathing on that flame, and it's growing brighter. This isn't coincidence. Heaven never deals in randomness, it deals in rhythm. You are stepping into the rhythm of promise fulfilled. You'll notice it in small confirmations. Peace returning where chaos used to reign. Opportunity showing up unannounced. People reappearing not by chance but by design. These are divine signals, proof that what you prayed for is now aligning with you. For so long you felt left behind while others ran ahead. You watched people receive what you waited for, wondering if God had forgotten your address. But he hadn't. He was aligning you with something better, something prepared precisely for your maturity. What's coming now isn't delayed blessing, it's right time blessing. Alignment is not about speed, it's about readiness. God wasn't making you wait to punish you, he was synchronizing heaven's promise with your heart's capacity. If it had come earlier, it might have slipped through your fingers. But now you are ready to hold it without fear, to receive without self-sabotage, to walk in it without apology. You may not feel it all at once, but you will sense the shift. The same roads that once led nowhere are opening into pathways of favor. The same people who misunderstood you will now remember your name for reasons they can't explain. Divine alignment doesn't make sense. It makes miracles. This is your prophetic Christmas moment. The waiting breaks here. The preparation makes sense here. You will look back on this year and whisper, it was all worth it. Every closed door, every silent season, every tear, they were not punishment. They were positioning. Heaven has finally whispered, now. And when heaven says now, no one can stop it. The doors open not because of power, but because of purpose. The pieces fit effortlessly. The rhythm between what you've carried and what God promised finally syncs. You no longer chase alignment, you become it. Chosen one, you are walking into fulfillment. The promises that hovered for years are landing. The seeds that went unseen are sprouting. You are no longer in waiting, you are in arrival. And the peace you feel right now is not temporary. It's prophetic. It's heaven's confirmation that you are exactly where you're meant to be. If this message stirs your spirit, comment the number 555 below. This number represents divine transition and grace multiplied. 3 5's the symbol of change wrapped in favor, transformation bathed in mercy. It marks the closing of an old cycle and the birthing of something entirely new. When you type 555, you are not just writing a number, you are declaring, I am ready for the shift. You are saying yes to divine alignment, yes to change that lifts, yes to the favor that follows obedience. Heaven responds to faith that moves quietly, and this simple act becomes your agreement with heaven's rhythm. Let that number be your declaration, your signature on the season God is opening before you. The appointed time is here, and everything lost in delay will return in abundance. This is the sound of fulfillment. It's your time, and heaven has written your name across it. When you write 555, you are declaring transition with confidence. It's not a wish, it's a witness. You're saying, I trust the change. This number represents grace multiplied, movement ordained by heaven, and doors opening because your heart has learned how to wait well. Typing 555 means you recognize divine timing. It symbolizes the sacred middle where endings and beginnings meet. When you declare it, you affirm that every shift in your life is guided by grace, not coincidence. It's your yes to God's reordering of your story. When you comment 555, you are agreeing with heaven's flow. It's a prophetic symbol of surrender and renewal. You are giving permission for transformation to happen without fear. Each digit echoes the mercy that meets you in every chapter of change. The number 555 is heaven's reminder that new seasons never arrive as storms, they arrive as invitations. When you type it, you say, I'm not resisting the shift, I'm embracing it. Grace surrounds those who move with divine rhythm, and you are stepping into that melody now. There comes a moment when light begins to return, not in a flash, but in a slow, steady glow that fills every corner of your soul. After seasons of silence, you start to feel warmth again. Hope doesn't shout when it comes back, it whispers. It rises quietly, like dawn after a long night. That's where you are now. The light is returning to you. You may not have noticed it at first. The healing didn't come in one great moment, it came in pieces. In the way your laughter doesn't sound forced anymore. In how you breathe without the weight of yesterday pressing on your chest. In how you can look at what hurt you without feeling the sting. These are signs that the darkness has lost its grip. Light never leaves, it only hides behind clouds of circumstance. Even when you thought it was gone, it was still burning within you, waiting for the right wind to fan it back to life. And now, That wind has come. Heaven is breathing softly upon the ashes of your heart, and the embers are beginning to glow again. It is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That verse isn't just about history, it's about you. The darkness tried to smother your light, but it failed. You endured what was meant to extinguish you. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every disappointment was designed to dim your glow, but it couldn't. What you carry comes from heaven, and no shadow can silence that kind of fire. This returning light is different from the one you had before. It's wiser now, gentler, more rooted. It no longer burns recklessly. It shines with purpose. You no longer need to prove your glow, it simply is. You've stopped asking for permission to be seen. You've realized that you don't have to shine like others. Your light was always meant to have its own hue. There's something sacred about light that survives darkness. It becomes warmer, more compassionate, more human. You can tell when someone's light has been through the fire. It flickers with empathy. You are that kind of light now. The pain you endured has turned into compassion that reaches others without you even trying. The world needs your kind of glow, steady, soft, real. You carry the kind of hope that doesn't deny pain but transforms it. You've learned that being light doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to stay open even when it isn't. Your authenticity is your radiance. When light returns, it doesn't just illuminate you, it attracts others who are lost in their own night. They'll see your calm, your quiet joy, and they'll wonder how you survived what tried to break you. And when they ask, you'll smile not to boast, but to testify that grace carried you where strength couldn't. The return of your light means your story has turned a page. You are no longer living in reaction to pain. You are living in response to purpose. You're beginning to see beauty in places that once felt barren. You can finally rest without waiting for the next storm. That's not naivety, it's faith matured. The light inside you is not loud, but it is powerful. It no longer demands attention, it gives it. You're noticing small wonders again, the sky, the laughter of someone dear, the comfort of quiet mornings. These are heaven's gentle ways of saying, you're safe now. You have moved from surviving to shining, and not the kind of shining that blinds others, but the kind that guides them. Your story has become a lantern for those who still wander in darkness. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you rose from it. The beauty of this new light is that it doesn't depend on circumstance. Even when days feel heavy, the glow remains. It's become part of you, woven into your being. You no longer chase light, you embody it. You have become the reminder that even the longest night cannot outlast the dawn. So let this be your truth. The light that left has returned stronger. The peace that faded has been reborn deeper. The joy that dimmed has been purified by pain. You are glowing again, not because life is perfect, but because grace is real. And this time the light will not fade, it has found its home in you. You are the living sunrise after a long night. Everything about you testifies that light always returns to the ones who refuse to surrender. What once tried to bury you now nourishes your roots. You no longer chase the sun, you have become the morning itself. And from this light within you, others will find their path. Your radiance isn't for decoration, it's direction. The way you live, love, and forgive becomes a map for the weary. You are no longer just a survivor, you are a signal fire guiding others home to hope. There are stories that begin in betrayal and end in redemption. Yours is one of them. Every wound, every disappointment, Every moment when someone walked away, it all carried a purpose you couldn't see at the time. What the enemy meant for evil, heaven quietly rewrote into good. Nothing that tried to destroy you succeeded. It only revealed what could not be broken. Betrayal has a way of cutting deeper than loss. It's the ache of trust misused, of love misunderstood, of loyalty forgotten. You remember the weight of it, the shock, the disbelief, the silence that followed. But even then, heaven was working behind the curtain. Every false friend, every closed door, every heartbreak, none of it escaped God's sight. The Word of God says in the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose." Those words are not mere comfort, they are law in the Spirit. They mean that everything good and bad, bright and dark, joyful and painful is being woven into something divine. You were not left to bleed without reason. You were being refined for redemption. There were times when you questioned the fairness of it all. Why did good intentions lead to broken outcomes? Why did those you helped turn away? Why did love become loss? But the truth is, betrayal reveals what blessing conceals. It shows you who's real, who's temporary, and whose divine preparation disguised as pain. Every person who left created space for heaven to enter. Every no was a sacred redirection. Every shattered plan was God saying, "Not this way. My way." You thought rejection meant abandonment, but it was actually protection. Some doors had to close so your destiny could open without distraction. And though the pain felt final, it wasn't. You were being pulled out of places too small for your purpose. The heartbreak you thought would end you actually cleared the way for healing you didn't know you needed. You were being freed, not forgotten. When Joseph stood before the brothers who sold him, he didn't seek revenge. He saw revelation, what they meant for harm, heaven meant for positioning. The pit became his path to the palace. The betrayal became his bridge to blessing. Your story carries that same pattern, the divine reversal where pain becomes prophecy fulfilled. You have learned that forgiveness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It releases the past from your hands so the future can take its place. Forgiving doesn't excuse what happened, it frees you from carrying it. The one who hurt you loses power the moment you choose peace over payback. There's a sacred strength in those who forgive without receiving apology. They become living reflections of grace itself. You have that strength now. The sharpness of betrayal has softened into understanding. The bitterness that once clung to your chest has been replaced by quiet gratitude. You can finally thank God not for the pain, but for the perspective it gave you. Look back now and see how every wrong turn led you to right timing. The tears that fell in secret became seeds that are blooming now. The people who doubted you unknowingly pushed you closer to destiny. Even the failures built the foundation for your future faith. Nothing was wasted, not even the heartbreak. What once felt like loss has become legacy. You carry empathy that only the betrayed can hold, compassion that only the broken can share. You are no longer moved by flattery or shaken by deceit because you now see with heaven's eyes. You recognize truth faster and discern darkness sooner. The pain gave you perception, and now your life sings a quiet song of restoration. The ones who wounded you no longer define your worth. You've reclaimed your joy, not by forgetting what happened, but by finding purpose within it. What was meant to break you built you instead. You stand today not as a victim of betrayal, but as a vessel of blessing. You no longer carry resentment, you carry revelation. You've learned that every ending hides a beginning, every heartbreak hides healing, and every setback hides setup. So walk forward with open hands. The past has done its work. The story has served its purpose. You are not returning to who you were, you're rising into who you were meant to be. The chains of betrayal have fallen, and what remains is freedom woven with wisdom. The pain that once silenced you has become the place where heaven now speaks through you. You carry the fragrance of survival, the quiet confidence of someone who knows that mercy wins. Nothing taken from you was wasted. Everything lost has become light, guiding others toward healing. Your story no longer aches, it teaches. You've learned to thank the storm for revealing the anchor. You've learned that grace doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. Now, when you look at your scars, you see beauty, not shame, proof that divine love can rebuild anything broken. There comes a sacred sound after the storm, soft at first, almost like a breath. It doesn't roar like thunder, it hums like dawn waking the horizon. It's the sound of your breakthrough, the invisible shifting of heaven that happens when endurance has finished its work. You can feel it in your bones, that subtle certainty that something new has begun. You have been walking through long corridors of waiting, listening for this very moment. And now, heaven opens its windows, not with spectacle but with peace. Breakthrough rarely looks like fireworks. It looks like stillness that no longer feels heavy. It looks like laughter returning to your voice. For years, your prayers sounded like questions. When will it happen? When will I see it? But those prayers have changed tone. Now, they sound like gratitude before the miracle even manifests. That is the first sign that heaven has shifted, when you begin to thank God not for what you have, but for what's on its way. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? The new thing isn't just around you, it's within you. You've stopped bracing for disappointment and started expecting fulfillment. That's not delusion, that's discernment. Heaven always finishes what it begins, and you can sense that completion humming beneath your every step. The sound of breakthrough doesn't demand attention. It moves like wind through leaves, quiet but impossible to ignore. It hums through the ordinary moments, washing dishes, walking to work, sitting in silence. You may not hear it with your ears, but your soul knows the frequency. It sounds like freedom. Sometimes breakthrough doesn't look like the door swinging open. It looks like peace while you wait. It looks like joy that returns before the answer does. It's the moment you realize you no longer need to chase what's already meant for you. That's when heaven smiles and releases it. This season is not just the end of struggle, it's the beginning of song. Heaven is composing something with your life, a melody written from tears and tempered by trust. Every note you thought was pain has become part of the harmony. Every silence was rhythm, every delay was timing. And now, as that melody plays through this message, you might feel something stirring, a warmth, a knowing, a recognition. This is for me. When that feeling rises, don't push it away. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven is acknowledging your endurance, rewarding your unseen faithfulness. If these words have touched a quiet corner of your heart, hold them gently and let them rest there. And if, in that stillness, you feel called to respond, do it in your own way. Like this message, not as a habit, but as a heartbeat, a way of saying, I'm here. I felt this. Share it as an act of kindness, not promotion, like lighting another person's candle with your flame. Let your share be a silent sermon that travels farther than your words could reach. If your spirit ever stirs to comment, let your words be like leaves on a stream, soft, sincere, floating where they're needed. Write what peace feels like. Write what breakthrough sounds like. Let your comment become a note in the melody heaven is weaving through this space. And if your heart ever whispers to donate, imagine you're pouring a drop of oil into a lamp so the flame that found you can find someone else still searching in the dark. It's not a transaction, it's participation. Giving becomes gratitude, taking shape. Subscribe if you wish to walk beside this light as it continues to grow. Think of it as leaving a candle burning in your window, a quiet signal to heaven that you still believe in new mornings. Every gesture, every like, share, comment, offering, and subscription is not just interaction, it is devotion expressed in modern language. It's how faith moves through fingertips, how gratitude becomes motion, how love multiplies light. So let your response be free, unforced, beautiful. Whatever you choose, silence, sharing, giving, or simply breathing these words in, know that it all counts. Every act of sincerity is noticed in heaven. And as you move from this moment, may your life continue to sing the quiet sound of breakthrough, peaceful, powerful, and entirely your own. Every time you act from love, heaven leans closer. Whether it's a word you write, a prayer you whisper, or a kindness you release into the world, it ripples farther than sight can measure. The light that once healed you now travels through you, reaching places your feet will never go. And when that light returns, and it always does, it comes multiplied. You'll find it in peace that doesn't fade, in opportunities that find you gently, in people drawn to the warmth you carry. The breakthrough you nurtured becomes a river, and every drop you gave returns as grace overflowing. There are chapters of life that feel like closing doors softly, quietly, without warning. You sense that something is ending, but you also feel that something greater is waiting beyond the silence. The transition is subtle, but unmistakable. Heaven is turning the page, and this time, it's in your favor. It's strange, isn't it? You spent so long praying for change, and now that it's here, it feels both exciting and unfamiliar. But that's how divine transitions always feel: peaceful yet powerful, gentle yet unstoppable. You are not losing your footing. You are being lifted. The very ground that shook beneath you is now becoming solid again. The Word of God speaks through the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. You are stepping into your next appointed time. The season of struggle is giving way to the season of significance. The tears that watered your soil have prepared it for harvest. What once felt like barrenness will now break open with beauty. You don't have to force this change, it's already unfolding in divine rhythm. Transitions are sacred because they test your trust. They ask you to let go before you see what's next. But you've been prepared for this. All those moments of surrender, of learning to release, of choosing peace instead of control, they've shaped your heart to move gracefully through change. You are no longer clinging, you are flowing. Heaven moves best through hands that are open. That's why you had to release what couldn't stay. You couldn't carry the old into the new, the habits, the fears, the constant need to understand none of it fits where you're going. You had to make room for the miracle, and the miracle is already here, even if you can't name it yet. It's in the peace that meets you in the morning. It's in the strength that surprises you when you thought you had none left. It's in the quiet joy that appears without reason. The miracle is not coming, it's happening. You are in the sacred in between, the bridge between the old and the new. Most people fear this space because it feels uncertain, but for you, it feels familiar. You've learned that heaven does its best work in transition. When you can't see what's ahead, it means God is rearranging what's behind the scenes. There's beauty in not knowing, It's where faith breathes. The unknown is not empty, it's pregnant with possibility. You're not walking into darkness, you're walking into destiny. The light you need will appear as you take each step. You don't have to see the entire path, just trust the one who designed it. Look back for a moment. Every chapter you thought was an ending became preparation. Every delay became direction. Every loss became an invisible investment in your growth. The thread has been consistent all along, heaven weaving purpose through every twist of your story. Now, as you stand on the threshold of what's next, you can feel the gentle pull of grace leading you forward. The fear that used to grip you no longer holds power. You are no longer afraid of starting over, because you've learned that every ending hides a greater beginning. You've outgrown the old version of yourself. The one who doubted, hesitated, and second-guessed no longer exists. You've stepped into the version that believes quietly, forgives freely, and trusts deeply. The new you doesn't strive for validation, you walk with conviction. This is not a restart, it's a resurrection. Everything that went dormant in you is awakening again. The dreams that once felt distant are being reborn, but with clearer purpose. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're aligned with calling. You're no longer asking when, because you've learned to rest in why. The time has come to embrace what you've been prepared for. You no longer need to apologize for your anointing, minimize your worth, or shrink your vision. You've passed through fire, and now you carry the fragrance of refinement. The world will soon see what heaven has seen all along. You were made for this moment. Every transition in your life has been an echo of grace. Every closed chapter has whispered, "Make room for more." You have walked through endings, but none of them were final. They were doors leading to deeper beginnings. The silence between seasons was not absence, it was incubation. Now, the waiting is over. The soil is ready. The timing is right. What once felt delayed is arriving on schedule. You are stepping into alignment with heaven's calendar. The transition you feared has become the very thing that frees you. So take a deep breath. Chosen soul. Let the past exhale from your lungs and inhale the promise before you. You are crossing over not by striving but by surrender. And on the other side of this transition lies the fullness of everything you were ever meant to be. There is a stillness that follows fulfillment, not emptiness, but completion. It's the quiet heartbeat that comes after the prayer has been answered, after the long night has ended. You find yourself standing in a peace that feels almost unfamiliar because the battle inside you has finally gone silent. This is what wholeness sounds like. You no longer wake up searching for signs. You've learned to live as one. You no longer chase meaning in every moment. You carry meaning within you. Heaven has done what it promised. It has turned the wounds into wisdom, the waiting into worship, the struggle into strength. It's strange how peace can feel heavy at first. You've spent so many years fighting that rest feels foreign. But rest is not the absence of purpose, it is the reward of faith. This peace doesn't erase your story, it redeems it. It gathers all the fragments of your past and weaves them into a tapestry of divine design. We are reminded through the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 5. Behold, I make all things new. That promise lives inside you now. You have become living proof that newness doesn't always come with fanfare, it often comes with quiet. You didn't need a miracle in the sky. You became the miracle on earth. Heaven's renewal isn't an event, it's a transformation of the heart that changes how you see everything. When you look back, you'll realize that nothing was wasted. Every prayer whispered in exhaustion, every season that stretched your soul, every heartbreak that seemed endless, it all prepared you for this serenity. You see differently now. The pain doesn't disappear, but it no longer defines you. It has become the soil where gratitude grows. You can finally walk through old memories without reopening the wound. You can remember what hurt without reliving it. That's not forgetfulness. That's freedom. Healing doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means knowing it can't harm you anymore. You've reached that place. The storm has not only passed, it has purified. There is a maturity in your joy now. It's quieter, steadier, less about excitement and more about appreciation. You no longer wait for something external to confirm that you're blessed. You see blessing in the mundane, in sunlight through the window, in laughter between breaths, in the calm that follows obedience. Your peace is the sign that the promise has been fulfilled. It's not just an emotion, it's evidence. Heaven keeps its word. You are living inside the proof of that truth. You've discovered that the miracle was never about escaping pain, but about transforming through it. You are no longer the same soul that entered the storm. There's something sacred about this stage of the journey. The striving fades, the proving ceases. You don't need to announce what you've become. The peace on your face will do it for you. You've shifted from explaining your worth to embodying it. Heaven doesn't ask you to perform anymore, only to rest, to receive, to reflect light. You carry serenity like a mantle now. It doesn't mean you'll never face storms again. It means you've learned how to remain still in the middle of them. The waters might rise, but your spirit will stay anchored. You've learned to trust that even waves obey the voice that called you chosen. This peace isn't fragile. It's been tested. It's the kind of peace forged in fire, baptized in tears, and refined in silence. It doesn't tremble when chaos comes, it stands, knowing that every storm eventually serves the same purpose, to remind you of who commands the winds. You no longer live waiting for tomorrow to validate today. You've learned that heaven is always now. The joy you used to chase has found you, and it doesn't depend on circumstance anymore. It's constant, like breath. It flows through everything, even the ordinary, even the unseen. Now, you walk lighter, you speak slower, you listen deeper. You've discovered the divine rhythm of grace and unhurried harmony between what was and what will be. You no longer need to run. The race has become communion. The destination is not somewhere ahead, it's here, within you. You've stepped into the rarest kind of victory, peace that doesn't need to prove itself. You are not waiting for restoration anymore, you are living in it. The ending has become the beginning, and the circle is complete. What was once fractured is now whole. This is the promise fulfilled, the transformation finished. You have walked through every valley, climbed every shadowed hill, and come out radiant. You are not the same. You are softer, wiser, holier. The voice that once whispered survive now whispers shine. So stand still for a moment. Breathe. Let this quiet surround you. Feel heaven's completion resting gently on your shoulders. The story is no longer about what broke you, it's about the glory that grew from the cracks. And in that stillness, heaven smiles. The journey that began in pain now ends in peace. Everything has been made new, and you, chosen soul, are the living evidence. If these words found you, it wasn't by accident. It was timing, divine, deliberate, perfectly aligned. Somewhere between silence and searching, heaven guided you here, not just to listen, but to remember who you are. You've carried this light quietly. Now it's time to let it move through the world. If your heart felt seen in any line, if you found your breath again in a sentence or two, then let that be your sign to keep the flame alive. Like this message, not out of routine, but as a small act of agreement, as if you were whispering, "I receive this peace." Share it the way dawn shares sunlight naturally, without effort, letting it reach whoever needs warmth next. You never know whose darkness might lift because you pass this light forward. Sometimes a single share becomes someone's answered prayer. And if your heart feels stirred to comment, let your words be a seed. Write what moved you, what you felt, or what you're ready to release. Your words may echo where your voice cannot reach. Let your comment be your way of saying, "Hope still speaks through me." If generosity rises within you, if you feel led to donate, treat it like pouring oil into a lamp so the flame that touched you keeps burning for another soul. It isn't a transaction, it's trust expressed. It's you joining the work of keeping light alive in a world that needs it. And if you wish to walk with this light, to keep receiving what heaven releases here, subscribe. Think of it as staying near the fire so that when life grows cold again, you'll know where warmth still waits. The story ends here, but the message doesn't. You are now part of its continuation. Carry it gently, live it deeply, and let your light remind others that hope still rises,